Alrighty, so we'll bring this meeting to order. Community Development Committee, May 3rd. And Debbie's got the roll so far. I've seen some emails from Kelly before, so maybe he's going to pop in virtually.
He's not in yet.
Yeah. So we will continue with our agenda, which would be, the first item would be the hearing examiner services. Alden, I believe, has input.
Yes, so we, our hearing examiner that we had, John, for 20-some years,
Hey.
retired.
Yeah, something like that.
Go
figure.
Yeah, retired in December from practicing law. He was in his 70s and finally decided to retire. So since December, we have been looking for a new hearing examiner. We did get a response to our proposal, the most qualified response from Sound Law Center. The Sound Law Center provides hearing examiner services for a number of jurisdictions throughout Pierce County, King County, the Puget Sound region. I think Mr. Reeves, who's our preferred specific hearing examiner, does I think 30 or 40 different communities to include Pierce County. So a little change in the contract that we have from COSO is they are requiring, and most of them are doing this now, kind of a retainer that kind of guarantees us a spot on the schedule. He does some training then for us once a year on different land use law topics to make sure that we're staying abreast of things. And then the actual fee for the hearings will be charged either on a flat rate, those are in the contract, or on a per hourly basis. The ones for permits that are on a flat rate, we're just going to go in and look at our fee chart to make sure that we're recapturing that fee for those hearings. So this would be a 1-year contract, which is what the code requires. And then if the council is and the city's happy with Sound Law Center, we can do a 5-year contract after that.
So I read your email about how many we have and stuff. How many you normally have in the past? Not in the last 3 years, but
it's hard to say. I think the most I've ever seen is I think 5 or 6 a year for permitting side. I don't know how well Denny was using the hearing examiner effectively for code enforcement. So now that we have a code enforcement officer for the first time in 5 years, that program's going to pick up.
Oh, good.
And there'll be more hearings, I think. I think we're going to be using the hearing examiner more for code enforcement issues than we are for permitting issues. Because there's a couple of things that we have to look out for on the code enforcement side. Is one, people appealing notices of violation. They don't think there's a violation and they want to appeal it. And if people want to change the amount of their penalty, then they have to appeal that to the hearing examiner. So say they get a civil penalty, they have to appeal it to the hearing examiner to have that changed.
And what happens?
With what?
With it, when they appeal it to the hearing examiner?
Then he makes a hearing and he can adjust the fee, and there's some standards. There was a big court case that came out, and everyone's heard about the one up in Seattle where they towed the guy's truck. And one of those things that came out of that case was when we assess penalties, one of the things that we have to do now is make sure it's reasonable based on their ability to pay. So that's where the hearing examiner steps in to conduct that hearing if they want to appeal the fine on what's reasonable based on their ability to pay. And then the other part that the hearing examiner does, which is newer and Denny didn't use a lot, which is the unfit building code, to declare buildings unfit for human habitation or premises in order that the properties be vacated. This has a couple of advantages. One, it allows us to deal with nuisance properties. But once the hearing examiner issues that order, if people are on the property, the police can arrest them for trespass, which gives the police another tool to deal with our nuisance properties. Like,
we had the two on Myers. They look beautiful.
Yeah, but the one, like the big one, was the Sherry Carlson property, which I sent. That was one of the decisions I sent. It was a notorious drug flop property, and it took us a while to get it cleaned up, but we were able to get the people off of it pretty quickly because we did the no trespass order. So anytime anybody was there, even the owner, they were subject to being cited by the police department for violating the hearing examiner's order. So, and it provides them the due process for us to be able to do that. So I think we probably will use, it's hard to say exactly, but I see us using our monthly hearings probably more frequently on a regular basis. once code enforcement gets back up and running. And we're expecting our new code enforcement officer to start in the middle of May. So it'll take a couple months to get the program back up and running, but once that gets into full swing, I think we'll be. And it's hard too because it's a service we have to have, because I don't know what decisions are going to get appealed or what permits are going to walk through here. And right now, I think we have 3 appeals pending and a permit that needs to be.
You only get a certain number of these a month though, right? And then after that, it's per incident?
No, we have an agreed upon slot so that we know, like when we're trying to schedule hearings for people with permits, we know every third Monday of the month, we can have a hearing. With Mr. Casso in the past, we used to have to try to find a date that would work for everybody. And so we may have to push hearings out a couple months just so that we could find a date. So this locks us into that where we have a block, so we know we will always be able to have a hearing at that time. So that gives us more predictability on the permitting side and also on the appeal side. If we have too much to happen within that block, we can then look to find dates and times that are not within that block, but that doesn't change our cost.
It doesn't change the cost. That's what I was wondering, because it looked like it was so much per residential, commercial, and.
Yeah, and regardless of when the hearing is held,
Right.
It's based on the permit type.
Right. That's for every permit that goes,
Yes, for those
every appeal.
for those some permits have to go there for decision,
Right.
and then there's appeal of administrative decisions that also go. And the appeals are just billed on an hourly basis.
How long was Mr. Casso? I forgot to ask. How long was he the?
I looked at the contracts mid-90s.
27.
Yeah, over 20 years. It was the mid-90s when he was brought on the hearing examiner. And as I was explaining, he's over 70 and retired in December from his practice of law, and so.
Can. Imagine that all day long.
Oh,
I tried printing money, but they sent me to.
Someone continues to appeal that, he would then look at it again.
No. So once he renders a decision, if they want to appeal it again, then it goes to Superior Court.
And they have to pay for it if they.
Yeah, they have to.
That was
Yeah,
my question.
I think
We should be
it's.
paying for these things ongoing.
No, I think there's at one point we can recoup legal fees, but I don't know if it's at Superior Court or the next appeal up.
So Tom, just think of your friend Kanani.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about his little house over there. Locus too.
Yeah, so the appeal hearings that the hearing examiner conducts, we bill out on an hourly basis because some of them are an hour, some of them can be, because it depends on the complexity of the issue. Some of them can be really quick, some of them can be really complicated. And also how many attorneys are involved can. So it's kind of a quasi court that we run on the land use side. And as I said, the contract's only for a year. If we don't like the service that's being provided, we can always do another RFP. But there are very few firms that do here. And Mr. Casso did probably almost all of Pierce County. And so almost all of Pierce County right now is scrambling, and Sound Law Center has picked up most of it. Like Edgewood, Pierce County itself, us, the ones I can remember.
So, am I crazy? But I guess I'm not the only one who's kind of concerned that, this can set the tone for. This is land use. Somebody determining, arguments over what people think their property rights. It's a pretty big deal, right?
I mean, it's in the confines of very specific things like permit decisions and code enforcement issues.
Yeah.
And that's why we bring an attorney in so that there's due process so they can make their arguments, and it's not a staff member, but someone who's legally aware of these types of things.
And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but our municipal code actually calls for it.
Yes, we.
You have to not only an attorney, but you have to practice done this for 5 years.
And that was a recent change. Before, you just said you could be an attorney, but they could hire anybody. But given the complexity of the issues now, the complexity of land use, wanted to have somebody that has that background of doing these types of hearings and that knowledge. And Mr. Reeves, the sound law center does have that.
These ever make you make changes to our regulations? What they think they've been.
They can't make changes. So if they do see issues that they bring up, they can make recommendations, which is what our code requires them to do. But ultimately, making the decision on policy change
That'd be you.
is the city council. So they're just there sitting almost as a judge, reviewing the facts and the case law and the city's municipal code and rendering. So for permits, it's based on the criteria. For code enforcement, it's based on the code enforcement.
You think you have a need in the future on the new budget to increase this amount?
Probably. I mean, I think I had finance pull it. I think one year we spent up as high as 15 or about 10,000, 12,000. And that was a couple years ago. So yeah, it will probably be a request to go up, but it's hard to say because, like I said, a lot of appeals, no work. A lot of appeals work.
So the rates in Exhibit B then that we're charging for some items?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is we wanted to make some predictability for applicants and for the city. So for permits, we actually had them give us flat rates for those hearings. And so
Are these new rates as compared to what we have?
right now the hearing examiner, I think Steve just charged just like $200 an hour.
So, for example, for human, whatever it would be, a single family residential variance of some kind. They want to put their fence somewhere, whatever it is.
Yeah, they would
Something
be,
insignificant.
variances aren't insignificant.
They're not?
No.
Okay. Well,
So a
building
variance,
their deck or whatever.
so
or something.
a variance would be the
Whatever.
property is so encumbered by critical areas, we want to reduce the front yard setback to
Okay.
5 feet from 10 feet.
Okay.
Those are the types of things that you see with variances. So, I mean, I think since I've been here in the last decade, we've had 2 variances.
Oh, okay.
Because they're not
something big.
they're not common, they're bigger
They're
things.
complex. But, and so Kelly had one or something that was like the shoreline, whatever you were looking at one.
Well, I couldn't get a variance, I just had to pay the money.
You couldn't get, you just paid and no variance.
Well, yeah, because it was like, yeah, what?
Because those are the people that are around like.
Yeah, and we've dealt with most of those issues,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well,
So
what about the guy who's like, wants to build his deck 5 feet into the neighbor's yard, and the neighbor's good with it?
can't do it.
Well, can't they ask for a variance?
No, a variance is not, a variance is specifically, you can't grant a special privilege. A variance is to restore a property property right that was lost due to the geographically way your property was set up. So say you have a property that's all critical area or steep slope, and if we apply our code, you can't build a home. You apply for a variance so that we tweak the codes on a case-by-case basis to restore back that property right that was lost by the rate. It's not to give you something just because you want it that no one else was entitled. That's something they're not a common
Right,
thing. They're kind of a last ditch
So-
effort.
so the city changes the zoning so you can't for a storage place, I can come ask for.
No,
Build a storage place.
because that's specifically prohibited by code. Remember, it's to restore a property right that everybody else is entitled to.
Oh, got it.
If you wanted to apply for a zoning reclassification,
Then,
then
yes.
there's a column there for that.
Yeah.
But that's a $1,700 only
Mhm.
fee. That's all it is. If I want to do a zoning reclass, then that's all I'm going to have to pay as an applicant.
Yes, because
Isn't that a lot more?
well, no, this is what we're paying. This is what we're paying the hearing examiner. What the fee would be higher because the fee covers the staff cost to prepare all the materials plus the cost of the hearing examiner. This is what the city is paying
Okay.
for the hearing examiner service. This is our
The job for us.
our cost.
Yeah.
And the reason these are so low is because the only zoning reclassifications of the hearing examiner hears are ones in which is to bring the zone in compliance with the comprehensive plan. If they want to change the comprehensive plan and rezone at the same time, That's a legislative action. It doesn't even go to the hearing examiner. So these are only when, say, the comprehensive plan says it's to be downtown core, but it's public facility. Those are the types of rezones that they do. And then the council ultimately makes the decision. They just make the hearing examiner just makes a recommendation.
So for a preliminary plat, is that a,
Yeah, we have to do a public hearing and it's a quasi judicial decision.
most of it is done by staff?
Yeah, but we still, by state law, we have to have the public hearing and have to have a quasi judicial hearing for preliminary.
What's a preliminary plat?
The creation of 10 or 11 more lots.
Right now, a preliminary is 4,000 plus 100
Okay.
is what the applicant.
Oh, really?
Yes. And that
It
would,
says 3850 here.
Well,
right.
that's what he's gonna charge us to do that. Applicant pay.
There's a lot
is
more.
4,000 plus 100.
Because the applicant's covering the hearing examiner costs plus the staff costs to prepare all the
So if you're doing
materials.
10 lots, that's 40,000.
No,
110.
4,000 plus 110 a lot.
Oh, 110. I see, okay.
It's, yeah, about $5,000, which is probably appropriate enough to cover our staff costs.
Yeah.
So these aren't what the applicants, yes, they're going to pay these through their permit fees, but this is just what we are billed. In those hearings.
Can you give me an example of the shoreline?
You haven't done one on.
A boat lot bigger than what?
No, I think like a shoreline, so for example, if you're wanting to build a dock, it goes back to the same thing. If you're wanting to build a dock and once we apply all our codes, you just can't make it work mathematically and fit it in there. Then they can apply for a shoreline variance to tweak those codes. And the hearing examiner makes a recommendation and the Department of Ecology.
So that'd be like people have bulkheads too that have to repair.
Bulkheads that are being repaired that are the same height and same length can just be done through a shoreline permit through us. If they want to make them taller, longer, wider, or a new one, they have to get a shoreline conditional. But they also have to show that the house is going to collapse with it if they don't build the bulkhead. Which is not my requirement, it's a state requirement. I point that out to everybody. That's the Department of Ecology.
So you still have nice
I
to
can't-
make these
I-
things up.
I love the Washington State Department.
I can't do anything with that.
What if you can show it's in 5 years?
There's no permit, come back into it.
God, right?
come back
You gotta
into-
wait until it gets closer to your house.
I did not write that rule. That was the Department of Ecology. I point that out to everybody so when they scream at me, they know that. But yeah, so these are pretty. I mean, they're pretty standard process what we use the hearing examiner for.
I'm
And
good
the
with this.
And the city can appeal any of the decisions too. So if the hearing examiner does something we really don't like and we think he's wrong, we can file an appeal too.
We can file an appeal. Have we ever felt like we needed to do the previous exam?
I know there was one that went rogue way before I came here that you guys dealt with, but other than that, I don't think so.
Section Annie?
No, it was before Kenny. It was way back in the day. But no, most of the times we haven't filed appeals. We've been defending appeals that other people have filed. That's what I've seen. Huh? Oh, we never appealed to Lakeridge.
They're putting another little thing on it today. Pro tip, they should have took the crane outside. What are they gonna do? Now they're gonna have a crane in the middle of the stupid thing. Structural thing.
There's a big, if you didn't realize, there's a big cutout on the side.
Who left the tank the crane inside the tank?
Oops.
Whoa, can you believe that?
I think we talked about that when it first came forward.
I know. So this one will move forward to the next available council meeting. Okay.
Jason, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good job,
Appreciate all
Jason.
that.
You gonna stick around tonight too?
Yes.
We can use some input on those issues.
Do we handle the docks on Lake Bonney? Because that's state lake.
Yes.
We do that.
Next item would be our contract for Source Electric for the MTU slash. Who's
Me.
you? I
Yeah,
didn't know you
maybe the
did
last time.
This is
Yeah,
water.
you get-
This
yeah.
is water.
The sewer.
You didn't- Oh, it is sewer
Yeah,
too?
mainly
The lift
sewer.
station, there you go. That thing.
Yeah, mainly, yeah.
But so who does the water side of the MTU? Are
The water
is it-
department.
You have
No, it's all
different
together.
MTUs? They're on the same MTU, right? Water and sewers.
Yes, they actually
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Why you call it MTU? Go ahead.
Okay. Come on, I guess this is the last ribbon you're gonna give me.
Really?
If
Are you on the
if you
retirement
approve
list
this.
too?
No, this is, how many phases have you dealt with me on this?
I know.
This is the
This
last
started
one?
at, this is the last one.
Thank God.
This is the last, this is started in, I think initially started this in 2014. So anyways, we started the design last year actually with the money we had in that budget line item for our design. The design was finished 1st of January. Initially, it was not going to ask to have this go out to advertisement for bid this year. I was going to wait till the next biennium because I didn't think there was enough money in the SCADA budget, which there wasn't. But then I talked with the finance department, Sherry, and the administration, and because I was able to show that there's, even though we're showing a negative in the column for sewer on the SCADA for SCADA improvement line item, we have a surplus or leftover funds in other CIP projects in the sewer department. And finance says as long as your sewer budget overall stays in the black, it's okay. You can do that. So we went ahead and did the advertisement. We got 2 bids. Source Electric, who's done probably at least four of these for us. They've done other projects for us. Came in at the low bid of 168. So we know Source Electric. They've done very well. And
Have they done the other ones? Some of the other ones?
oh yeah,
also?
they did phase
Sure.
phase 6,
Yeah.
phase 4. I think they've done 4 phases. Plus, they're doing some of the generator improvements that are
Yeah.
replacements that are happening as well. So
You're happy with their work so
Oh,
far, apparently.
extreme. They're very reliable, very easy to work.
Good.
And so that was a bid. If you add the our typical 10% contingency on that, we come to 188.93. And like I said, this move it shows a negative in the sewer side, but that's only for that line item. We do have additional funds to cover that negative number in other items like lift station 18, the sewer bottleneck, the lift station 17 we anticipate, which is happening right now. We anticipate to be surplus money, and lift station 20 surplus money from what was budgeted in the approved biennial budget. This is for the final lift station to be upgraded for the SCADA to remove the old communication PLCs. This will also then move the MTU and radio panel from the public works site that's currently over by the senior center to the new building. We're moving it over there, and then we'll have to do some adjustments. We will have to contract. Most likely, we'll reach out to AccuCom, who does the radio stuff, to do some adjustment of the radio portion.
Don't move it too, so it's gonna be a few months to get moved over there.
Yeah, they can move it as soon as they want.
Well,
What are you talking about?
the
Can you
way
put it over there
material.
with them not in the building?
What's that?
Can you put it over there with them not in the building?
They don't have to see it.
I don't think we have to worry because the way materials shows
Right,
up there
I
right
know,
now, it'll
yeah.
be 6 months from now before, you know, by the time we get materials and get control panels built, you know. Yeah, they'll probably be, I hate to say it, but they'll
Maybe
probably,
rise on the rhyme, but he doesn't take it, just he's done with it, he's done.
yeah. So,
Which one's lift station 7 again?
lift station 7 is right over by, it's just north of the public, where the current Public Works Center is off of,
Oh, okay.
can't think of the name of the road. Remember where we had the pump for the big pothole
Yeah.
drawdown?
Yeah,
It was right across the street from there.
well, that, no location exactly.
Bring up a bad memory
Memories.
and it gives a good visualization.
Doesn't seem that's
It didn't
Map
it's
here.
just kind of like that, right? It
Yeah.
was like, okay, I don't know exactly what.
I apologize. That was my fault. You know what
It has a
happens?
nice title, but
Yeah, so here's what happens.
In there somewhere.
Yeah, if you'd like, I can print out and send you it. What happens is I make the map, I put a PDF, then I go into like Review or Adobe, and I add additional information, you know, and then I save it. But if I didn't flatten it,
and it
then-
just prints the
and
original.
when even though you see it on the screen, when you go to print it out on a printer,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't show up.
Ah,
That
yeah,
was my fault.
Yeah,
So
that's what we're kind of missing. Just if you could include that when it goes forward to the council,
will do.
it's there. Good. So the MTU kind of, are they doing the programming for that, or are they just how their scope is just to move and
So
do
the
physical?
the
Isn't
program
Parametrics or whoever doing a lot. SCADA.
RH2 is going to be doing the programming
Uh-huh.
of the panels themselves,
Okay.
and that's already been contracted.
Okay.
They like to write that
Yeah,
part
yeah,
into
yeah.
their design contract.
Yeah.
And then, yes, parametrics will have to be brought in to do some of the at the computer.
Yeah, no, good.
Is there gonna be any changes when you move to the Republic facility? Like, because your position is different?
Well, the only change that'll be is we're actually reducing one of the MTU because we're getting rid of some of the old PLCs that are still in the current panel that have to support these older PLCs that are out and about.
So they're going to be completely divorced of the old public
The
works
old-
center.
Old Public Works Center. Well, I shouldn't say that. I believe what I was told when I talked with the Radiocom guy that we may have a repeater antenna left in that area. And we've talked about whether it was mounted on the building, power
Well,
there.
be aware, you're
On the
aware
tower
that
would be better
Yeah.
because that frees up the site for other boat type activities.
because if you're mounting it to buildings, it may fall over in the
Yeah.
future. You know.
Well, when I say other buildings, there is the senior center. I don't know if that's
There you
going
go. That was
anywhere.
good. Yeah, you can do that.
But I understand that
And you
many
have-
of those buildings over there
and you have
will
the
fall
cell
over.
tower.
They fall
Yeah, the cell
over
tower would be a great
in
spot because
on
you're
a
going to get
Saturday
elevation.
night.
and your whatever
And
UPS
the
and
SCADA
power
server
and
is
whatever.
That cell tower building anyway. Going to be a better location than.
Yeah.
But
Make
we'll
sure
have-
you coordinate with the IT guys. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't,
We-
think you're doing something and they're like, wait a minute, yeah, it's all still there. No, you can't do that. You didn't slice your fiber outside or whatever. We're trying to get in a position to clearly be able to get rid of a lot of those facilities or do whatever we wanted with them over there. So, we need to have
So
it
this
not
needs-
run through there, right?
Yeah.
So that when we move the MTU over to the new facility, that when we come back and say, oh, by the way, Kelly wants to park all the boats there, so we're gonna knock down that one building, and you're like, wait a minute, no. The fiber optics run through the building still, so Chuck's taking care of it.
The trailer
His-
parking
his
is
other
getting
person.
sooner than later then, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a whole ball of
That's a
wax
whole
there,
nother-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
that's
let
too
you
much
guys
fun.
handle that one. So anyways, so this one opens up the opportunity to do some Saturday night plowing,
Exactly.
mowing.
So, to be clear, if there's a repeater needed, you'll put it on the cell tower.
That would be the ideal location.
The radio guru guy actually recommended that. Like, then you don't have to, hopefully, you shouldn't have to hear me talk about data improvements again.
What's the frequency for the comm gear, do you know?
Well, there's,
925.
I'm just wondering,
wondering
if it's like,
Because it should be spread spectrum.
it's a spectrum style, yeah,
okay.
but I don't know the frequency. Honestly, I can't remember. Long since I looked
Because
at
you'll have
it.
that.
Well, I'm just wondering, right, because you're going from one side of the city to the other.
Yeah, we're currently doing it right now. These are the lift station 7 is the last one that's on the old radio communication.
Like Tacoma Point on the radio stuff? Or?
Tacoma Point well site is on
It's on
DSL. The
DSL.
tank will be Verizon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, our SCADA after right now there's five different communication protocols happening. But when we get it down, we'll be down to 3. It'll either be the new radio, Verizon, or DSL.
Yeah.
Like DSL because it's solid.
Yeah, in my opinion, you're going to find a lot of value in the Verizon. AT&T has a new product out now.
Oh, so what are you trying to do? Upgrade us again?
Oh, it's a constant. It's constant. It is literally constant. T-Mobile is happy enough to. Brent called us up basically. You always get into those things. Hey, Tom?
I'm good. Fine.
Tom's good. Kelly?
Yeah, how long have you been working? How long has it taken to get rid of that?
Well,
Started this in 2014. We've just been picking away at it.
it's like painting the Golden Gate, though.
Yeah.
It's been a
'Cause
while.
you'll
I
get
remember.
to
You will restart it, right?
Right. I hope
There'll be a
not.
new
Not at
system
least
coming
not
out.
while
Not while we're
not while I'm
here,
here. Yeah.
It'll be some. Hey, what's
Well, the
wrong
old
with GE
system
Series
is
6?
old system was put in the mid '90s.
Old. Why do you say old? Like it's
Autocon, remember that's
nothing wrong with that. This like Battlestar Galactica. The only thing that survived was the ones with the relays and the push buttons. Fancy
Are you a Star
electronic
Trek
stuff.
fan too?
The best shows ever made.
I'm good with this sleep.
Approval of minutes? You got any?
Oh,
Consent agenda, please. Yeah. We want to make sure that Doug includes his fancy little map.
Yes, I will. I will get Debbie the fancy little.
Minutes are fine. Good job, Debbie.
Well, I do the packets generally.
And we're down to open committee discussion. We got a half an hour to kill. Staff doesn't know. Tom?
So these, since we have someone on staff now to follow up on issues in the city like signs and multiple homes on single lots, is that going to be a problem for us to get those who have been there for 2-3 years, having 2 or 3 homes?
There's nothing
Mobile
that
homes.
there's nothing that invests people from time. I will say we have a 2.5 year backlog. Signs are at the bottom of the
I know.
list.
But there's a
code
couple I
enforcement.
want to put on your report. I haven't done that. For example, the one on Locust, across from the elementary school, that they grade. There's no cell one time, no, they didn't. So now there's a couple trailers down there. There's a building down there. I'm talking about down there. So there's like 3 homes.
Yeah. I mean,
There's
yeah.
one near me. They've got 2 trailers in it.
Well, as long as they're not living out of them.
Well, they are. They're
Yeah.
more. Yeah, they're obviously.
But yeah, so that those will all go on the list, and we'll slowly start working through that.
And we've established a priority matrix for all of our code enforcement cases that are outstanding. Working
And
anything we would prioritize.
and a lot of them we are going to have to just kind of start back at square one, regardless of where they were at in the process, because it could be different property owners, could be different people involved, lost things, forgot things. So
Right.
Well, the public nuisance ones are difficult.
As long as they can't.
They're probably the
can't-
priority ones, and
they
they're the most
can't stay
difficult
there.
ones. Got to have all your ducks in a row for umpteen. You never know. You may spend years and years chasing something. It's just throw it away.
Mhm.
Let it go.
Never happens.
Never happens.
That's all I got.
Kelly, got anything fun for these guys? Got all the experts in the room. Everything you want to know about sewer, got the guy right here. Mr. Lift Station. You don't know
There's
anything
a,
about.
yeah, there's a ton of stuff. I just don't know.
Is
where
there
to
any
start,
updates
right?
from Sumner about have you had a meeting this year at all with
There's
them?
one tomorrow.
Oh, are you really?
No, I'm
There's
not
a
going to
tour
that.
tomorrow. We just
No,
had,
I'm not going to tour. I've been there.
we just had our quarterly meeting.
That's what I'm asking about. Any changes in that? Any updates on that?
So as far as the quarterly meeting
Yeah.
goes, I'd have to go back and I could get you the minutes and talk about it further, but we do have, probably one of the biggest updates is that there is a couple project efforts that are starting to move forward down there that have some.
Or dryer and stuff like that?
As far as the rate analysis.
Lowering
Including
the
that.
rates?
Right, yeah, exactly. They're gonna.
Well, we'll see what that
50%
impact looks like. So that information is going along to FCS to be considered as part of their rate.
All your fault.
I only did the first upgrade, or the second upgrade. I didn't do the first.
But if you'd like more information, I mean,
I've been to one of them, but I didn't know until I looked at what was going on. They're very interesting, so I think especially a new council might be even aware of it.
And then we're doing the tour tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Gwendolyn, Angela.
I believe, Kelly,
Kelly,
you're
are you
signed up to do
coming?
that, right?
Yeah, I'm in town.
Excellent, yeah, so I don't have to walk
We don't
around
need
like
to
a
yell.
laptop.
get on the Segway and get like chilling.
Yeah,
Zoom.
yeah, and Terry. That'd be
So
right. Yep.
what are we gonna learn though?
Been to a poop plant before?
It's really cool.
I spent.
Doesn't stink nearly like you thought.
You don't realize what's all
Oh, okay.
involved.
Still
Basically,
following
they-
the tub,
we
but it's
walk the process.
all.
And just take you through the process. Spend a little bit of time in the lab, they'll show you the bugs underneath the microscope. And
Dirty the water.
it's a good tour, it's informative, yeah.
Very
Yeah.
technical.
Is it gonna help us lower the rates?
Well,
That'd be a question for Sumner staff. No,
Sumner.
I cannot guarantee that, but you know,
But it will give you maybe a little bit of understanding of the complexity of the plant
Oh,
itself.
Right.
You know,
it
It's
is
pretty
very-
complex.
It is. Not like you just pump it out of the ground and put some chemicals in it and put it through a faucet.
Well, especially the new council members say, why don't we just build one up here? We gotta, once you see what's down there,
Yeah.
that's fine. But how you gonna get the eliminated?
Well, yeah, but Cascadia did.
Yeah, they built one.
Yeah.
They
got a lot of
did.
money going out there too.
Yeah.
That's a challenge we have facing every day here.
Cascadia built one.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, he said, well, Cascadia built, why can't we?
It'd probably serve about a fifth of our community.
I know, right? We just mean you build one 5 times that size.
Just
And-
five,
and
yeah,
it was
5,
a-
6 times that size.
and it
5,
was a
6
private
times that
property.
There's a little complex
And
thing called the NPDES
It was
permit.
Built by the
There's all
developer
kinds
and
of
then-
sewer that has to be the most
It's just a
complicated,
little
it's
thing.
immensely complicated.
So there are things that Cascadia did that could be better for us if our sewer plant was like upgrades that they have done out there would be beneficial for us.
Theirs is a completely different technology.
Is it really?
Yeah.
They're using an MBR plant. We're using the standard.
It's not being processed like
Old
that, so-
conventional, as they call it.
A large part of the trick today is how you're going to. You know, in the old days, you found the closest body of water and you just kicked it out. You know, piece of cake. It's not that easy anymore.
Where's their water going to out there?
I believe they're doing groundwater
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
injection wells.
Which
Wow.
is, I don't know how they're getting away with bypass.
Yeah, I need to do some follow up, but last I heard, I thought that was what they were doing.
Yeah,
They
I
are,
have
they're
yet to
doing
ever
it,
get
like,
to
spraying
visit
it up
their
there.
plant.
They actually market.
Do they
They go a lot of capacity, extra storage capacity. Yeah, so they actually do 1 truck a day, and eventually when it builds up, it's gonna, that's where all the solids go. You're right, it's a different technology. They actually have things in the sock, and they clean the sock. Whereas down there, you actually separate it. But in the end, with these treatment plants, they have to go out somewhere, and it's the water there or down the hill. So even if you build up here, you still send it.
99.5% of what the sewer plant sees is water.
Oh, yeah.
And it's that other 0.5% that.
But
Yeah.
Didn't even think that way.
Need to get that in the creek.
yeah,
I miss it when I.
if we start digging now, right?
We'll get done in 50s,
There you go.
Chambers Creek,
Well, we want,
gigantic screw up.
remember, one of the options we looked at for lift station 17 was, we called what was it, the big little bore?
The through hole?
Yeah,
The Jim Rackley Tunnel.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Jim Rackley Tunnel, yes.
Straight through the hill.
Yeah.
Straight down the hill to the
Right.
Sumner plant.
Good idea.
I'm good, that's all I got.
Okay. Got anything, Kelly? I'm done. Okay, we're good. Yay. We'll see Jason later.
So-